Fellow Guyanese, good evening and welcome again to yet another program of Globespan 24/7. I am Charles Sugrim here in New York, and I want to welcome all of you, our viewers back home in our beautiful country of Guyana, and to the citizens around the world. I want you to relax, sit back, and enjoy your favorite program here tonight as we explore some of the issues that affect us back home in our dear land. Tonight, we are very honored to have some new faces with us. Asha is no stranger to us. She is a medical doctor, one of the youngest medical doctor in our Guyana team. As you all know, she was the presidential candidate for the new movement, the new political party. Of course, she has been the first female presidential candidate that is declared in Guyana. That's a first for her. She is a medical doctor, as we all know. She's in front line fighting this COVID-19. So Asha, our hats off to you. You're doing very well. Please stay safe. Asha is also a volunteer on medical outreach. The Georgetown Hospital is very good with that, and doctors volunteer their time. And Asha is one of those doctors who go out on weekends on medical outreach. She's also a member of the Lions Club of Bel Air, among her many other things that she does. So I don't know how she gets time for herself, but Asha, we want to welcome you to our program tonight.
Thank you very much.
Also, we have with us, again, no stranger to us, is Leland. Leland Rupnarayan has been a prolific writer. He writes quite a bit in a newspaper. Sometimes his views are very, very touchy. But Leland is a current real estate broker. Can you put it? Yeah, Leland is a real estate broker here in New York. He's a builder. He built quite a bit of houses. He has been involved in politics for many years. In his young years, he was a teacher at St. Stanislaus College. He became one of the members of the Elections Commission for the United Republican Party, I believe, Leland, from 1990 to 1992, the PCD. Leland was also a founding member, of the New York team of the Alliance for Change, the AFC. He's no longer a member. As a matter of fact, we were all kicked out from the AFC here in New York. Leland and I, we were both kicked out of the group. So Leland, welcome to the program as well.
Well, this is a first. Thank you all very much.
Okay, and last but not least, we are waiting also for Mr. Malcolm Harry Paul, but we have with us, we are very honored today to have Mr. Albert Baldeo. He is no stranger to us. He has been a former state counsel in Guyana. He was a police legal advisor, as Madam Chair Claudette Singh was before she became the chairman. He was also a magistrate in Guyana. As a matter of fact, Mr. Baldeo was one of the youngest persons within the Commonwealth to be won as state counsel at age 22. We were running around with nappies then, Albert. You were a state counsel. He was a police legal advisor at age 23. And he became a magistrate at age 24. Very, very good. He also was involved in defense counsel for trumped up charges from the Burnham and Hoyt administration for PP activists, people like Boj Pratap. And of course, like most of us, Leland and I and Albert, we had to leave Guyana during the brain drain to come to these United States. Here in the United States, Albert has distinguished himself. He should have been a city council member. He should have been a member of Congress. But today he's been first Guyanese to be elected a district leader in his area of Richmond Hill. So Albert, again, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. I just wanted to explain why my Guyana flag, and I love Guyana dearly like all of us, is flying at half-mast. I have decided to wear this flag at half-mast in sympathy and in solidarity with the Guyanese people for the deprivation of election and democracy. And this flag will go to full mast when this process, hopefully, is completed and democracy is returned to Guyana.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Albert. Again, we want to thank Nohar Singh for making this broadcast possible, this platform, and to Devin, our technical specialist. To this evening, we are using Zoom away from Skype, so it's a little different tonight, and we hope that Malcolm Harry Paul can join us later on. We're having some problems connecting with him, so as soon as we connect with him, Malcolm will be on with us. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight as we speak, Guyana has a lot of issues that is affecting us. And so many things to discuss. The state of policy, we want to talk about a couple of things tonight. One is the state of play of politics in Guyana. And we also want to segue after that into this count that is expected to happen whenever that happens. But this recount, as we face it today, could have been avoided. Had Madame Singh, Claudette Singh, stepped in when Mr. Mingo was doing his shenanigans within the commission, had she stepped in then, all this would have been avoided and a new president would have been sworn in a month ago. Today, as we speak, we are 7 weeks after the election of March 2nd. And still there seems to be no end in sight. But all that saying, that is now water under the bridge. We need to look at what is the next step in Guyana today. So now that we have this impasse going on, and hopefully there is a count coming up soon, Asha, you're there in Guyana. Maybe you can lead us off. Tell us what's the state of play now in Guyana as we speak?
Well, the truth is that we've never experienced anything like this before. We are in unprecedented waters. There is no government existing at the moment. The people do not know who to turn to lead them at the moment. Democracy is dead. We have seen in plain sight, live streaming, live on television with my own 2 eyes as I'm sitting there in Ashman's building that the election was they tried to steal the election from us. That's how it happened. False declarations were made. While you're walking on the street, we still have political tension. Racism is still playing a big part in all of it. But the most painful part in it all is that the people are suffering because right now we have the COVID-19 outbreak. The cases in Guyana are going up. Aid is needed, and there's nobody to protect us, as a matter of speaking. So it's all in quagmire. I wouldn't even describe it as quagmire. This is total confusion, total destruction, and a total disrespect for our democracy.
So in your view, it's really bleak right now in Guyana.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It really is. The people are losing hope. Every person that I speak to that reach out to me and ask me, Dr. Kissoon, what's happening with our election? And when I tell them that, okay, we're waiting for a recount, we're trying to fight for it, what they end up saying to me is, man, I've lost hope. I don't know who to turn to anymore.
That is very, very, very sad to know. Albert, Leland, you want to step in there?
Let me talk about this. This is the hallmark of a dictatorship, Charles. There's no question about it. You had first, this was a regime that was voted with a no confidence motion that legally and constitutionally was sent packing. Then you had these elections, which they tried to delay for so long, and then you had where they were voted out of office from all the information that came. Because the question is, why are you so unwilling to go through a recount, if you know you've won the elections? And this is where now, and what has actually convinced me that mischief or criminality is afoot is that I went to hire a law firm in America that represented a country, Sudan, for its terrorist.
We'll come to Albert, if you don't mind, we'll come to that later on in the program. But let's talk about the state of play in Guyana right now.
The state of play is that we are in a quandary. We are under a dictatorship. It's a de facto illegal regime. It's a shame that it has lasted 7 weeks. There must be, and the international communities have all condemned it. So definitely agree with the learned doctor that there's a state of urgency. The government should resign. This so-called APNU government should resign, have the votes counted within 2 weeks. And now we talked about Claudette Singh, who was actually been now ceding authority to Moses Agamutu when she herself knows that as GCOM, she doesn't have to answer to anybody. So why cede power when you want to pass the buck on to somebody else to buy more time? So what I believe is a very scurrilous dictatorship, and they should stop these games, and they can go back in the opposition and try to find fault with, just like people do in a democracy. But Charles, the time has come, and the world and Guyanese all over the world and in Guyana are calling, and loudly so, that there must be democracy at this point in time, and they must stop playing these nasty, vicious games with the 750,000 people and a very large diaspora. The time has come, and enough is enough, and they have to now move on with democracy and install whosoever is one has to be installed, whether it be Granger or whether it be Irfan Ali or whether it be the learned doctor who I understand is a president. She was also on the ballot. Whosoever wins the election must be installed, and then from there.
Okay, Leland, what do you think of the state of play in politics in Guyana right now?
Well, sir, this is a very incendiary situation, and I think looking at the history of the PNC that was formed in 1955, it was born out of deceit and treachery. Fast forward to 1992, it was none other than President Hoyt, when he lost the election, subsequently threatened to make the country ungovernable. We are seeing the manifestations of Hoyt's words today in 2020. The elections are a test, whether you fail or you have passed in your performance as the leader. Therefore, the people of Guyana has marked the test papers of the coalition government, and they have deemed them to fail. Therefore, we need a new president. What's going on here is that President Granger, whose idol is none other than Forrest Brown and the architect of rigged elections, is waiting, in my opinion, for something to trigger off and a constitutional clause that will give him the power to declare a state of emergency and continue ruling this country. As it stands, the cabinet has resigned nearly 4 months ago. At the end of this month, at the end of April, there will no longer be a constitutional government. The Constitution states 4 months for you to have a new parliament. The only person who will hold an office constitutionally is Mr. Granger. And Mr. Granger has the power to declare a state of emergency, and he's already 1/3 of the way there with the COVID-19. If we can trace back what is happening here now, we don't really have much fear of a COVID-19 compared to a GCOM 90 when Mr. Patterson was there as an illegally placed chairman of GCOM. Mr. Patterson set the tone to infect the staff of GCOM. Today, we are seeing the exponential detriment of what has happened under Patterson's watch to the GCOM staff. Yeah, there is no one logical or intelligent that can say that the GCOM staff is not compromised. When you look at the performance of Mingo and Lowell Field, and now the Honorable Iron Lady, the so-called Iron Lady, she has been popularly known in this part of the world as Fraudette. Fraudette Singh.
Someone saying she's Claudette Stink. People are giving all sorts of names to her. But Asha, this is, and Albert, you're an attorney, you're a former magistrate. I'm sure maybe you work, in your time, I guess Claudette Singh was part of a lawyer at that time. I'm sure she was a lawyer in the 90s when you were a lawyer as well in the 80s. But the thing is, I believe, and maybe I might be wrong, but I believe that she is taking revenge on the PPP because the PPP denied her the opportunity to become the chancellor. Now, God help us, if she was the chancellor and she is doing what she's doing now, that judiciary would be in a total chaos. The fact is that she has not proven herself to be anywhere near independent. If she was independent as an independent chairman, none of this would be going through today. 6 weeks ago, the new president would have been sworn in. That did not happen.
Yeah.
Albert?
Shed some light on this, Charles. When I was there in the 1980s, I would not rate Claudette Singh as one of the legal luminaries in Guyana. You had people like Dudnat Singh, Rex McKay, Bernardi Santos, and so forth. But you did not have Claudette. She was in the Attorney General's chambers. And most times you don't go to court in that office. So whilst we were prosecuting violent crimes and coming up against the best lawyers, so I might remember my first case was against Lionel Laku and then Dudnat Singh and Santos. But why I bring this up is because she seems heavily dependent on other people for legal advice. Now, she now had the Attorney General's office representing her in some affidavit that was sent to the court. So you tell me why there's such a violent conflict of interest when someone from the Attorney General's chambers, who is another party in the matter that may be at purpose with the other parties in court, why she has to rely on the Attorney General chambers in such an obvious conflict of interest. That seems to suggest to me quite clearly that she doesn't even understand the law. And when she now ceded authority to Moses Nagamutu, and she's the head of this powerful independent commission, she has actually shown that she doesn't even know what she's about. And she's a main cause. I believe that her conduct may be beyond just negligent. There should be an investigation as to this woman's role. I don't believe she can be that naive legally and have all this distinguished, so-called distinguished career as a justice of appeal and not even know what she's about. She is the person who has to say, enough is enough, Mingo and all, we come here, let's count these votes and get this thing done. She has the unilateral powers by the Constitution. There's no other greater power than that. And in addition to that, Charles, you have another constitutional person there who is in charge of all the criminal prosecutions in Guyana. That's a woman by the name of Shalimar Hack. She's the director of public prosecutions. She has not even brought a single charge for the trespass, the abuse, the obstruction of governmental process, the money law, all the stuff that has been going on, the political pilfering and all these serious criminal acts against an entire population. She has not brought any charges. I've never heard of the DPP being involved in these. She does have no current investigations. She has not come out and said that this is going to be governed by law and order. You had a lawyer from the PPP, Mr. Ramson, filing a private criminal charge, which you can withdraw at any time. But that has just been addressed because his charges don't go anywhere. She, as the sole functionary of criminal power in Guyana, the sole repository of the law, should have indicted these people like Mingo and Lowenfield and GCOM and all these people who are, destroying democracy in Guyana, and all of these people who are making us look like jokers and don't know what we're about. So it's two people, one Claudette Singh and also the DPP, and both have been failing abysmally in their constitutional powers and in the exercise of their unchallengeable mandates and discretion. And it's a shame that these people have allowed such kind of anarchy, dictatorship, and utter lunacy to prevail in Guyana.
Asha, what is your view about the chairman of GCOM? You're a candidate for a party.
Well, she as a candidate for GCOM, you mean Claudette Singh?
No, let's ask Asha. Asha being a candidate for a political party. What is your view of Claudette Singh? Does she have your confidence?
So let me start from when she was injected into our system. As a women's activist, I was so proud. I was happy to see her step forward. I expected ice breaking, big things to happen for a woman to stand up in that position. And she made my hand fall so badly. I'm utterly disappointed in what I've been seeing. For her to let down all the women who are looking up to her, for her to let down the legal system, for her to let down democracy like this, I expected her to stand up strong and make a decision. And what she's been doing shows clearly that she doesn't have Guyana's heart or Guyana's democracy at heart. It shows clearly. The question now comes as if she's naive or if she's been controlled. An allegation was made that her life was threatened. It was on the news tonight also. And we need to question behind the scenes what is happening, because for such an intelligent woman, it's hard to believe that she's consciously or alone by herself sitting down and making this. There's a puppet master behind it. I believe that.
And I think I agree with you. Leland, what do you have to say about Claudette Singh?
Well, to add insult to this political injury that this country suffers, Mr. Nagamutu now has to give his permission for our overseas observers to come.
Well, that was overruled by the president. Pani Granger overruled that.
Overruled. In the first case, why was he put there? He is obviously a non-partisan person. He represents the political entity that's under question here. So he should never have been part of a counting process. But coming back to Dr. Asha, when Justice Claudia Singh became the chairperson of GCOM, a lot of people expected great things from her. I didn't. I wrote this clearly. I do not trust Claudia Singh. In the 1997 elections, when all the political parties had agreed to the use of voter ID cards for the elections, including Janet Jagan and Mr. Hoyt, those were the two presidential candidates. After the elections, when Mr. Jagan had won the elections, Mr. Hoyt, with his PNC cabal, filed an action in court that voter registration cards were illegal. And you know who gave the decision that yes, they were indeed illegal? Justice Claudia Singh.
I know, we went back to that.
I think, I don't think, I have made a strong conclusion. She is being controlled, like Asha said, by other forces. They are persons who are pulling the puppet strings.
And the point is this: if she said, as Asha mentioned, the report in the news that she was threatened, or she was whatever people threaten her life, there is a process for that. Reported to the authorities, and as Albert said, the DPP should come in and file charges against those people. But I think it's all a makeup. It's all a makeup shenanigan.
Not only that, Charles, she could apply for help from the American consulate there.
Exactly.
And I'm sure with people like President Trump and the Department, the U.S. Secretary of State involved, they will gladly give her protection. As a matter of fact, she can then apply for refugee status to come to the United States or Canada as a citizen after that. So this could be a lottery for her. So she should then use those other remedies to protect herself.
All right, let's get into the real issue now of this counting. I know today, Asha, they went to the convention center and they walk around, and it appears as though they have enough space there for 10 counting stations. But now there is roadblock. They got to wait on the GCOM the CARICOM people. They got to wait on the Ministry of Public Health to give the go-ahead. When do you think this count will start, if ever it starts?
That's a good question. Based on their actions, I cannot give a projected timeline because every time it's about to start, something else comes up. The excuse is COVID-19. If there are 10 separate stations, even if let us assume there were 20 stations like we were suggesting, as long as there's social distancing, each station is apart, there isn't a crowd, there's a allotted number of people to each station, it could have gone on. Then we came to the question of curfew, which now only today has been changed because they saw that it's utter stupidity, right? When is it starting? We don't know. But the way they're doing it, they said, a maximum of 10 stations. We do not yet know if it will be 10 stations. For all we know, they could tell us 2 is enough or 3 is enough to put it out even more time. Nothing has been defined, and that's the letdown about the counting. The date has not been set. The exact number of people has not been set. Who is participating or overlooking has not been set. She's claiming that the people counting lives are at risk because she was threatened. So security or high class or top class security needs to be put in place first. How long is that going to take? Nobody knows. It's more shenanigans to put off the counting.
So you don't see this happening until till May, maybe?
Possibly. Because what I'm saying is every time we're about to start, they come up with a new excuse.
Albert, what do you think?
This is a pity, you know, Charles. We are one of the least dense populations in the world. Why didn't they use a bigger center? Guyana has a lot of space. You got National Cultural Center, you got Providence Cricket Ground, you got places you can cordon off, Wissington Road, whatever it is. It's a farce that they're looking now to choose locations that they can easily say, well, it doesn't have enough space, the logistics are not there, you got a virus coming in, and they got people got to be quarantined. Well, why quarantine people who are coming to help and have been taking precautions already, and probably who have antibodies in their system from these countries, these more developed countries, that are coming to help it in our lack of democracy and dictatorship takeover? So you asked a good question, and it's always bothered me whether they're going to ride this thing out till to the end of another election, or to facilitate what you call a government by a state of necessity. You know, some politicians can say, you know what, we have the COVID lockdown, we have all these problems. I am now going to be President Granger as per necessity, as per constitutional mandate and necessity. I hereby declare myself to be president once again, like Idi Amin or any of these people. There's nothing preventing them from doing that. Now, this is a total breakdown of democracy, and it's a very present threat. That is why Claudette Singh has failed, and failed abysmally, to have 8 weeks going on, and she has not yet been able to do this thing. And then again, I don't know who selected her. You have to blame Barra Jagger for selecting such a person, knowing that she had a history of bad will towards the other parties. Why select such a person who may be legally inept and incompetent? Why don't you bring in somebody from outside, bring in somebody who is more middle of the road, or who knows how to count? Perhaps she never did math in school and she's afraid of it. This is a problem. So I blame him for a poor choice. And and then I blame people like Nagamutu, who are all hell-bent on remaining in power. And then Grange is playing games like the learned doctor said, Asha. He's saying one thing and then he's saying one thing. And someone told me today that he has like 8 heads. He's always pulling in one of the Hydra heads to justify one of its inept and totally incompetent. And I don't think it's negligence for Charles. I've been an old prosecutor in Guyana. We have brought charges on less evidence than this, for treason, for governmental obstructions, for obstruction of justice, and for all these criminal acts that are in the full parade of the world, and nothing is being done. I don't know if the DPP is still alive. I don't know if she was struck by the coronavirus or any acts of God, but she's also to blame on nothing. So,
Leland, do you want to chip in?
Gentlemen and lady.
Leland, do you want to chip in there? What do you think of this lady?
Well, first of all, when Mr. Mingo was declaring his results and objections were raised by the observers and the PP commissioners, where was Mrs. Claudette Singh? A couple of days later, after the court case, Mr. Mingo came up with his so-called spreadsheet and bedsheet. Where was Mrs. Claudette Singh? Mrs. Claudette Singh has been conveniently absent. She has shown no leadership. And I know there's an old saying, when your house is on fire, you don't quarrel with the fireman. Nearly 50 days, and we don't have a count. This scenario is so reminiscent of the Olympic Games. You spent 4 years to practice for a 10-second event. Think of Mr. Usain Bolt, who wins the 10, who wins the 100 meters in 9 seconds. He spends 4 years to practice for that. We are spending nearly 50 days for a 5-day count. This is not inefficiency, and this is not constitutional obstacles. This is a deliberate attempt to steal the elections, not to steal PPP's vote, but to steal the vote of every single Guyanese, because your vote should be counted. You should take your 31 seats that you get, the coalition, and go and sit in parliament. Do not expect to get more than 35 seats, more than 33 seats. But herein lies the big problem, right? The problem is not who wins the elections or who gets the most votes. The problem is, as was aptly indicated by Dr. Jagan in 1957 when he became the premier, we will sit in the Legislative Assembly as Her Majesty's loyal opposition, because they would not have been able to govern. If the PPP steps into office, the PNC will do everything to make, as Hoyt said, the country ungovernable. The PNC has never won an elections in Guyana. The first elections they won in '64, it was because of a coalition with the United Force and PDR. and they subsequently tampered, rigged, fabricated all election results just to remain in power. After free and fair elections, the PNC lost 5 consecutive elections. They won in 2015 because of a coalition, once again because of a coalition. So historically, the PNC is a weak party. So when you're weak, what do you depend on? You depend on bullyism. Any student who is active in school will know that bullies are cowards, and that's what the PNC is. They're bullies and they're afraid to step down. Legally, you have been voted out because the purpose of an election is to decide whether or not you have passed the test of governance. Forget what David Hines said about burning the ballot boxes. David Hines is short a few cells up there. But coming back to Guyana's election, we have a serious issue here. This is not about who wins the election. This is about the ability to govern. And what you will find happening in countries like Guyana, like so many third world countries, people gravitate towards the political kingdom because that is where the money is. Third world countries have leaders that have become phenomenally rich, like the African dictators to start with. Some have ruled for 40 years. Some have become billionaires, like Equatorial New Guinea, and half their country live on 300 US per year income because it is the power of politics. If you compare that scenario to first world countries, Western Europe, America, even many Asian countries, people who come out of school, graduates, you will not find them gravitating towards the political kingdom. They will gravitate towards financial management, corporate jobs, stock market jobs, and they will go into entrepreneurship because that's where the opportunity to make money lies. Everybody comes into this, into adulthood to get a good job. That's what we are all taught while going to school. Get a good job when you graduate. But in Guyana and many third world countries, you have to get to the political kingdom because that's where you get a direct pipeline to the money. When you look at the people in Guyana, look at the wealthy people in Guyana. Seriously, look at the wealthy people in Guyana. When their names are talked, when we discuss their names over a beer or over a lunch, you know what we were saying? That man has good connections to the PPP. You see, he got that contract. You see, he got that job. You see how many houses he has. That man is a wealthy minister. He's a Barjagdir friend. He's a Ramutar friend. It's the same thing with the PNC. You're going to be a Granger friend, and you're going to buy a bond for $20 million and rent it for $5 million a month. You're going to get a contract to buy drugs and sell it to the Ministry of Health, something that the PNC had actively vociferously condemned under the previous administration, and rightly so, but they end up doing the same thing. So the power of the political kingdom is the way third world countries will always go. Unless you create economic opportunities, there will always be room for corruption.
And that is so true. So the thing is, we are talking about what you said, Leland, make a lot of sense, is that most of the, well, not most of the people, but those who get into politics in Guyana is really, they get into politics to get rich off the backs of the electorate. Because if they go into business like you did or like Albert did, and like Dr. Kisoon is now, hopefully she will get into a private practice later on. I am also in private practice. The thing is, you got to work extra hard to earn your income. When you get into government, you have to hold all the revenue of the state at your disposal. Look, we're talking about a state. In 2015, when the PPP left office, and I'm no defender of the PPP, when they left office, they had over $12 billion in gold reserve. Today, the gold reserve is less than $1 billion. When the PPP left office, the current account with the Bank of Guyana had a surplus of $20 billion. Today, there's a deficit of $102 billion. So these people, they have no skill to manage your money. And this is not racial or this is not political. But we've seen what Burnham did in the 80s. Guyana went bankrupt because he couldn't manage the financial resource of the country. Now in 2020, we are also bankrupt. Today, oil went to a negative number, never in the history of the world. Oil, they're actually paying you to buy the oil now. You're not paying for oil now. And so when we depend on this oil revenue, we are wasting our time because oil will not get up to the price we want to do. If these people stay in office for another month, we're going to be in serious, serious trouble. They have no skill whatsoever to manage the financial affairs of our country. Asha, what do you think?
Well, we're speaking about the people who blatantly disrespected the no confidence motion. We're speaking about the people who made the worst oil scene in the history of the planet Earth. Which other country has ever made a deal like that? We're speaking about the same people who have put us in bankruptcy. It's clear they cannot manage, they cannot go forward as a political organization. There's so much war in their own camp, whereby members are filing injunctions against their own presidents, where you have legal documents going forward from private companies, and the president come forward and said he has nothing to do with it. That alone shows that they're not fit. They call themselves fit and proper. But what do you call that they're doing? It shows that there's confusion, and it shows a clear lack of leadership qualities.
And you know, Charles, there's an implosion within the APNU regime. And at the left hand and the right hand, and the back hand and whichever hand, they're like 10 different hands doing different things. But there are two main cabals. One is Granger-led and one is Harmon-led from what I've seen. And now they're fighting amongst each other. So they cannot govern anything. They can't even govern a fish market because of this division and this power grab. And this one thinks he's smarter than the other, and this one wants to be this, and this one wants to be that. Right now, they can't govern nothing. That is why they should step out of power and get as long, and it seems very clearly that they've lost. Let Irfan Ali be president. I am no fan of the PPP, like Leland said yourself. But the fact of the matter is they've won. Democracy demands that they take the reins of office. However, a spirited opposition can then expose all these cabals within the PPP and all these side contracts, just like the other party, APNU, and have a forensic audit. That is when you need a forensic audit to flush out both parties and what they have done. And that is why parties like Dr. Kisun is part of, and the young people need to have a new beginning and a new formation of people. And there's lots of folks I've seen and I've seen on the television on a show that have been very promising in terms of trying to unite Guyana under one umbrella, regardless of race, and that we can have the one people, one nation, one destiny, which I proudly wear, and the flag. This is not a PNC flag. This is not a PPP flag. This is the flag of Guyana, the golden arrowhead. And this is a symbol of one people, one nation, one destiny. If we can all understand that, then Guyana will be a much more meaningful and progressive country. But at the moment, we have had such a terrible situation there that everyone is trying to grasp at power. You have incompetence at the highest level, and you have so many side contracts and sweet contracts. Some people own cricket teams. Some people own big things. Some people got Ocean View Hotel getting $1 million, or how many millions, I can't remember. It's not even worth, the hotel itself is not even worth 5%. So there's massive problem, massive thievery.
Albert, we'll get.
You got to get the poor people in Guyana the money and the wealth, Charles.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I just want our viewers to know that the views expressed in this program do not reflect the views of Globespan 24/7. It's a personal views of the contributor. So this does not reflect the views of Globespan 24/7 per se. I know Devin is trying to get Malcolm. I see it on the screen, but apparently we're not getting him. So we'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will continue our discussion.
Did you know the FBI warned against using public Wi-Fi? And hackers using public Wi-Fi can download viruses and steal all of your private information. Let Globespan help you protect against hackers by providing you with a virtual private network or VPN. Keep all of your data hidden and protected, including sensitive information, documents, bank account numbers, and more. The FBI recommends using a VPN, and Globespan can help provide one for you. It's very simple and easy to use. Call Globespan today. In Georgetown, call 225-9054. In West Coast, call 269-0141. Or in the United States, call 718-551-3290. You are now able to work from home or from anywhere with a cloud computer. No more worrying if you can't get to the office. Access all of your files and work in an efficient manner with a cloud computer. Best of all, no waiting for a technician to show up to fix all of your computer crashes or viruses or any computer problem. No more worrying about power surge or losing your files. Let Globespan set up a cloud computer for you to work from home or anywhere. Access with a laptop, iPad, or any device that you may have. You can set up your own passwords and keep all your information hidden. Globespan will set up all the antivirus programs, automatic backups, and configure your computer to fit your needs. Globespan has technicians in the US and Guyana to assist you. Call Globespan today. In Georgetown, call 225-9054. In West Coast, call 269-0141. Or in the United States, call 718-551-3290.
Okay, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our program as we continue the discussion on Open Forum on Guyana and, of course, Guyana politics. Recently, we have heard and read in the media that there is a dossier that was sent from the government of Guyana initially, and by all report, the report that was filed by the Department of Justice, that report says that they represent the government of Guyana. Now, the President Granger, came out and said he knows nothing about it. Mr. Harman initially said that it is a government document that counteract the propaganda that is peddled by the PPP, and they need to correct the record. He also mentioned initially that it was paid by the government, then he retracted and said it was paid by supporters of the party. On that document, it says that President Granger is a citizen of the United States, and so is Joe Harman. There's a whole lot of things going on with that document. So, Mr. Baldeo, as an international attorney, tell us what is your view about this dossier that was submitted, the registration of which was made to the Department of Justice?
Well, there's some serious implications on this, Charles, and I wanted to give that perspective from the international law concept, is that here you have people filing or apparently misrepresenting the fact that he filed documents not on behalf of the government of Guyana, which has been contradicted by Granger, the authorized, the official leader of the government, de facto or caretaker, whatever you may say, but it is diametrically opposed to what Harman is saying. And therefore, both men are complicit in filing fraudulent documents for which there are criminal penalties. It's 5 years jail if you file stuff like that under 28 U.S.C. 1746. On the document itself, these are the documents they filed. They have run foul of the American law. And what is worse is by filing these documents in America, it gives America the long-arm jurisdiction, and America is very good at this. American can reach out and grab, or prosecutors, they say, can indict a ham sandwich. And what that means is they can make up crimes. Here they don't have to make up a crime. Granger and Harman, I don't know who's advising these people on international law, have played into the hands of the Department of Justice of America. Apart from the fact that they have breached the Procurement Act of Guyana, which forbids using the people's money like this, they have now filed documents that are perjurious and subject to penalties under 18 U.S.C. Section 1001 and 1618, that they affirmed on the penalty that this and this, and it calls for that 5 years imprisonment and some $1,000 fine.
So Albert, who can be implicated with that fraud if there is a fraud presented to the U.S. Department of Justice?
Well, here's how the American government works. They are very good at this. They're quick to say conspiracy, RICO, and major crimes and drag everybody in. So if there is complicity on the part of Granger, Harman, and whosoever, they can very well be liable on the American law, and they can be brought for trial here. they can drag in all the people who were involved in this signing, including the entire cabinet, including the entire people who came together and did these documents. And although Granger is saying, well, you know, I didn't sign the document, blah, 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 they will indict him too and let him say, well, you plead your case to the jury, but we have enough to charge you. And this is the problem that they have found themselves in both in Guyana. That's what I said with the Director of Public Prosecutions. She should see that that's a breach of the Procurement Act. And she's advised to read that law, because if you misappropriate public funds or any kind of funds, even from your party funds, to do unauthorized things like these, where you come to the election that you ask an American government for what relationship, when it is your duty, your constitutional mandate, your constitutional duty to the people of Guyana to count the ballots. You're now looking to overstep that by cultivating some backdoor relationship to avoid accountability to the Guyanese people that you have lost the election. So in both senses, nationally in Guyana and also internationally, they are trading and prostituting and ceding the integrity of Guyana, the wealth and sovereignty of an independent nation. And here's the problem with that, Charles. We are proud to say, oh, we're the only cooperative republic in the world. But we are laughing stock of the world, because we as Guyanese, with the God-sent gift of oil, we are now dependent on other countries. We are now dependent on America. And don't think when you ask America for help, they're not going to ask you back for something. That's how this international politics is played. Therefore, what we have done is to cede sovereignty and become a colonial country again to America, which is ill-advised. We should never be allowed to do that, and it's bad leadership. And I just wanted to correct one thing you guys had said. We don't have to look to Mozambique and other countries of the world. Forbes Burnham was declared the 6th largest black man in the world. In the world, he has a global recognition as being the 6th most richest person in the world, until Ebony magazine had exposed that in 1970 something. I remember at Queen's College, we were talking about it. The magazine was banned. So here you have people who are filling their pockets on the backs of the Guyanese people. The sugar workers are retrenched. Nobody's getting work. They're not getting any health care, Charles. They're not. The coronavirus doesn't have any kind of resources coming in. The hospitals don't have the beds and the equipment, and they're going down the drain.
Let's
we were under the British imperialism, and that's a shame.
Yeah. Asha, I mean, what are your views of this dossier that was submitted by whether it's the government or by Harman to the U.S. Department of Justice?
It's complete lunacy. What we saw was an attempt to clear their name, and they ended up putting themselves in more trouble and more confusion than they started off with. We see that President Granger has pulled himself clearly out of it by saying he had nothing to do with it, but the disease is still in his camp. It's coming from inside the AFC. It's coming from a member of his party that has gone to these companies in the USA to get this document done. Mind you, would you go that far to have false information presented to an entire nation? To our nation, to the United States of America, to all the countries that are paying attention to this document right now? It doesn't make any sense. And then again, we need to question, what was the motive of saying that David Granger has dual citizenship? It's just to show more incompetence. That's all I'm seeing. Incompetence, incompetence, incompetence. No matter which direction we twist or turn it, every time they try to bail themselves out of a problem, they put themselves in deeper hot water.
And that is so true. The thing is, we don't know who to believe. Should we believe Mr. Granger, what he said he does know about it? Should we believe Joe Harman, who says the government is not paying for it, but it's supporters of the party? This apparently, Leland, this attorney that is representing the government, whoever it is, he represented the guy from Sudan, as Albert says. He also represented the president of Suriname. And both of these guys are criminals. So what message are they sending? Asha is right and Albert is right. We are not becoming a laughing stock around the world if we are not already laughing stock. We are really a banana republic. We are such in a bad state. Leland, what is your view on that?
Well, listen to this. This dossier is not anything new about the PNC. They've always falsified documents from Burnham days since the rigged election, and they gave you the amount of votes. They've always tried to court overseas opinion. Even when there was Jones Tongue, we know that Guyana was in dire trouble because Jones Tongue was never monitored by the Burnham government. But vis-a-vis Jones Tongue, we have a very similar situation here. Oh, by the way, whenever I travel overseas and I tell people I'm from Guyana, they think I'm from Ghana. So I have to tell them Guyana is a country in South America. They don't know that. Guyana is British speaking. They don't even know that. But when you tell them, you know, there was a suicide cult where 914 Americans they drank poison Kool-Aid. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
The cyanide.
Yes, poison Kool-Aid. Yes, cyanide laced Kool-Aid. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Guyana, Jonestown. That's how. What a way for your country to get known worldwide. So now we have a next situation here. This dossier that the PNC that was propped up all of a sudden is really aimed at damage control. You have made a mess of things and you want to smooth it out. This dossier, this solicitation of a foreign-based firm, a PR firm, should have been done prior to the elections so that the PNC will get a good name. And let's say they have been they have influenced the American lawmakers and lawmaking policy and their support base in America and all of the world. That's what you pay PR for them for. They would have been able to get more votes. That's the purpose of lobbying, to get more votes or to gain something. The PNC have made a mess of things. It's like when you commit a crime and then you go in front of the judge and you have a very long story. You know, these people, they should have read Peter Drucker, The Theory and Practice of Management. The PNC have always been consumers. They have never been producers. The other half of the Guyana population will wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to go and cut cane and go to their rice fields. The PNC people, they will go to the barracks, they will go to the police force, they will stop your car and demand money from you, and they'll go to the public service dressed however they feel like and whenever they feel like turning up for work. It's a very, what's the word, a very unbalanced society. And I think Mr. Granger is trying to do an Israeli concoction here where neither party won a clear majority. Israel is a country that has a PR system just like Guyana. So here's what Israel is doing as of tomorrow. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be the prime minister for 6 months. For 18 months, sorry. And after he steps down, Mr. Gantz, who was the opposition leader, who also got quite a huge percentage of the votes, very similar to Mr. Netanyahu, but no one got a majority. He's going to be the prime minister for another 18 months. So Mr. Granger is working towards sharing the presidency, or he wants a negotiated truce like Adolf Hitler aimed for when he was losing the Second World War. He wanted a settlement with the Allies, but thankfully, Mr. Churchill and President Roosevelt said, no, we want a complete surrender. The PNC, I don't care if you call these people, they are PNC. They just painted themselves in another color. They just wear another set of clothes. They are the PNC. They do not want to get out of government. They want to share this government, or they want a negotiated form of temporary leadership, the so-called power sharing. It's not going to work. Power sharing is never.
But our country is a different system than Israel, so we really can't compare the two per se. But Asha, also the PPP, they hired a firm as well. Mercury, I think the firm is, to represent their interests in the US. How different is Mercury from the one that APNU hired?
Well, I'm not a PPP member, so I cannot give you a direct answer in representation of them. But what I can say, based on evidence that was provided in the documents, there is a clear distinction. One document has facts and one has propaganda. That's all I can say about that. I guess the wise thing to do would be have a PPP member defend Mercury and what they were presenting.
Okay, Albert, what do you think of
You know,
the...
Charles, these contracts cost a lot of money. This is a $72,000 was paid down US at the signing of this contract by Harman and APNU. And Mercury also would have a similar thing here. Here's my take on this. You have, and lawyers will never say, oh, I'm not going to take your case. I think I heard the former Attorney General say last night that when I was looking at this YouTube thing that, oh, you know, no lawyer who's worth his salt will take your case. Not in America. American lawyers will take your money and say they're going to represent you, and they can sell it. They can be so woefully incompetent. My point here is that even if APNU does not have a case, or the PPP doesn't have a case when they got Mercury, it's vital money, vital taxpayers' money. Where does this money come from? This money comes from just like us in the diaspora, where they come and ask for money and they take our money and don't want to include us in government. It comes from the sugar workers and the bauxite workers and the poor folks and the farmers. It comes from Guyanese who are very and who
Gentlemen,
don't.
gentlemen, sorry to interrupt. We have Mr. Harry Paul on the line.
Oh, okay.
So that's my take on that. Just to conclude before Mr. Harry Paul comes in,
Okay.
Charles, is that this is the problem that both sides are wasting money and resources when Guyana has all the brains in the diaspora and internally, where we can police our own affairs and we can count. Certainly, we're not looking to put somebody on the moon. We're looking to count election for less than 1,000 people. I ran an election here that had more votes than Guyana combined, and I lost by 500 votes. So what is so difficult? We got the results the same night, and the next morning changed it and said I lost. But I'm saying within a day, you got the results. So why can't we do this basic fundamental math in Guyana?
Okay, Malcolm, welcome to the program.
Thank you, and I'm very sorry about all the technical difficulties. Very good evening to all your viewers and listeners out there.
Malcolm, we're talking about, well, we talk about first the GCOM situation, but we're running out of time. We're almost coming to the end of time, but we are talking about the dossier that the APNU prepared, and also we are talking about, in comparison, the Mercury company that PPP hired. What's the difference between two? Asha was saying, and rightly so, that one is full of propaganda and one is very factual. What is your view of this dossier that the APNU AFC prepared and presented to the U.S. Department of Justice?
Yeah, I have not seen the dossier. I have not read it, and I'm not really interested in whatever it contains or does not contain, right? But my position right now is that the APNU won the election, and where we have to, if we are to follow all the laws and all the electoral procedures since 1992, at this point where GCOM went, in having all four returning officers declare results for the respective districts, the next step would have been for the Chief Elections Officer to present this report to the chairperson of GCOM, and then to have GCOM meet at a statutory meeting and discuss the results, and for the results to be conveyed to the Chancellor of the Judiciary, who will then swear in a person. That has always been the procedure, that has always been the laws followed since 1992. So what we have out there today is a great deviation from those laws and from those procedures.
Malcolm, I know Asha will come in there and challenge you on that. But the thing is, where did you get that information from that APNU AFC won when the High Court judge, the Chief Justice? Sorry, I was talking over you there. Sorry about that. What I'm saying is that where did you get that information from? And I'm sure Asha will come in there. The Chief Justice of Guyana instructed Mingo to go back and get the thing done correctly. He went back and did even worse. So how can you say that APNU AFC won the election when the verification was not completed?
You look at the video footage of what GCOM when Mingo was trying to establish
we're not hearing you. Can you? Devin is a speaker.
After 9 of the regional regions were declared and the PP had this big lead of 50,000 or so, the PPP misled the supporters into thinking that it has won elections without Region 4 being declared. All right? And Region 4 is the largest region in Guyana in terms of electorate. The electoral list for Region 4 289,000 voters were on the list. All right? And just to give you an idea, if we look at 4 of the regions in the PPP won convincingly, regions 1, 2, 3, and 6. The total votes cast in those regions only total 175,000 or thereabouts. And when you look at the total votes cast in regions 4 and 10, which they are won, the total votes cast was 240,000 votes or thereabouts. All right? On an average, the PVP got an average of 67% of the votes in their region, so to speak. And they have got 72% of the votes in the region, so to speak. All right, so whichever way you look at this here, in my view, they opposed one election fairly and squarely. All right? I think Jagan made a mistake, the people made a mistake in misleading their supporters. That after 9 regions were declared that they won elections when in fact they did not win elections. And then they tried to disrupt the proceedings at GCOM. They tried to disrupt the proceedings.
Malcolm, those are talking points that the
right.
Malcolm, those are talking points.
Let me remind viewers out there that having lost elections, Baldeo, who is back. I heard one of your panelists talk about after supporters don't go to work 2 o'clock like the PP supporters. After supporters go to work in the army, police, and they go to the bars and they don't deal with the JCOM and so on. Well, let me say this. The most powerful class in Ghana today is the class of narco-traffickers, and all the narco-traffickers are aligned with the PPP. They're the ones who finance the PPP.
All right, Malcolm, I want to stop you there, if you don't mind, sorry. I want Asha to come in there about this perceived winning of APNU AFC of the election. Asha?
Mr. Sugrim, let me make it very clear, first of all, that the new movement has not proclaimed a winner. We do agree that up to the point where the verification was done, the PPP Civic was in the lead. However, before we can declare a winner, we would like the verification to be completed. The second point is an illegal court ruling was made that the declaration was false. Now, anybody who could stand up and defend such declaration is more corrupt than the system itself and has strings on them as a puppet master also behind it. Let me tell you, 3 different declarations made with different numbers. That's electoral fraud. And you stand behind these 3 different numbers to say that you have won when the whole country is waiting for their votes to be counted and for democracy to prevail. Nobody has the right to stand up and proclaim being a winner until it's counted, because the normal citizens of Guyana are waiting patiently to see their votes counted as legally ruled by the court, as defended by the false declarations. And I heard the speaker make a comment to say that PPP disrupted the declaration. I was in Ashman's building. I was sitting there while I was told a bomb will go off and my life is at stake. At the moment, I said I will sit here and die then with the international observers and the other parties. I was right there when the false declarations were thrown upon us. And I said I will not move. And I'm not a PPP member. So let it be known that the new movement also disrupted that false declaration. What we need right now is for people to be honest with themselves and their parties and let them know that, listen, there isn't a winner. Let us count this thing properly, and then we will make a declaration, a final declaration of a winner.
Leland, you want to come in there? We're not hearing you. Your speaker is off. Yeah. Oh, it's still off. Oh, yeah.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
The current situation in Guyana concerning the final declaration of the results is a situation that has been well concocted by the government. They are thriving on their illegitimacy. They're squatting in parliament, and they are there to spend money as much as they can before a legitimate PPP government is sworn in, or whichever party wins the election. The point I'm trying to make is this is nothing new to these people. They have usurped power many times in Guyana. And if you look at the 1997 elections, none other than the head of state, the former president Desmond Hoyt, openly declared he will make Guyana ungovernable. What a disastrous comment. What an imbecilic, irresponsible comment from a person aspiring to lead 850,000 people. Guyana will always be plagued with this ethnic insecurity, because elections in Guyana is not a case of you fail, therefore we need another candidate. What elections does in Guyana is to say we win. We will rule you or you will rule us. Unless that concept is changed by economic measures, then the political system in Guyana will never work, because it's a tug of war with equal forces on both sides, more or less.
Yeah, but Leland, I want you to comment on Malcolm's statement that APNU AFC won the election.
Well, there are two forms of argument. One is a logical argument and one is an emotional aspect of an argument. Malcolm is entitled to say what he wants, but you must say something with facts. Right now, there are no facts to prove who won the election, because most of the votes are in one region. Half the country's votes are concentrated in one region, which is a stupid concoction by Burnham anyway. I can't see why half the country's votes should be in region 4. But if you think you have won this election, why are you afraid to count the votes in public? Why are you throwing obstacles all the way? Why is your own party filing a petition against itself for a count? It shows the asininity of these people who want to hold on to power. The simple matter is, if you think you have won, go ahead and count. And then you should not be afraid of who is present, because you already have the majority of votes. And if you have the majority of votes, count it clearly and pellucidly so that the world can see. But there is something sinister here. There are dark forces at work that do not want this election results to come forward. And in the meantime, in my opinion, just like Malcolm has his opinion, I think the PNC has lost this election. The coalition government has lost the election, but they're going to tamper with the ballot boxes. They might destroy them. They might move them from one place to the other, which is illegal, because no commissioner was ever told we will be moving we will be transporting ballot boxes from Artachong Center to the GCOM office. They move it however they feel like. It shows you that GCOM doesn't have control over this election process. This whole process is controlled by the APNU government. So Claudette Singh, with Lowenfield and Mingo, are all puppets of the APNU government. To get a fair recount it's an uphill task. You will find the most trivial of excuses to prevent a recount. You know, there's an old saying: when your house is on fire, you don't quarrel with the fireman. In this case, the PNC don't care if the house burned down. They want to stay in power.
Malcolm, before I'll ask Albert to jump in there, you can have your own opinion, but you can have your own different facts. And the thing is, the fact is, as Asha rightly said, no one has yet been declared the winner of the election. So how can you come up and say that?
Excuse me, you know what? What is the fact? 10 returning officers have made a declaration to the chief elections officer. And at the end of those 10 declarations, APNU is ahead of the elections by 8,000 votes. All right? Let me just remind Ms. Asha that even before declarations were made by the returning officers, the PPP declared victory. Elections were held on a Monday, and the next day, the PPP themselves win of the election, and that orphanage and Jagger going around Georgetown celebrating all the place. All right? So people did claim an election, they claimed victory even before the return officers have started to make their declaration. That was the issue. as well, sailors also recount. At this point in time, where all returned officers have made declarations already, if you want to recount, you have to go by way of an elections petition. And that's why that person went for an elections petition. You have to go to court and dispute and say you have a dispute with the election results, and therefore you want to recount. The recount should be done by way of an elections petition, but elections petition can only be done after the results have been declared. All right. So
Malcolm, you cannot have fraudulent declaration and expect that to be a result. Everyone, the international community.
If people drug cartels to say it's a fraudulent declaration.
No, you can't bring in those extraneous matters. Malcolm.
Everything that people is kicking and screaming and going, they're getting away because of the very powerful drug cartels that support the people.
Don't bring in those extraneous matters now. The fact is, why is APNU afraid to count the votes? Why is APNU afraid to count it? Why is APNU afraid to count the votes? Why is APNU afraid to do a recount of the vote? They're putting roadblock after roadblock.
Wasn't it President Granger who very early on asked to recount of the vote?
And why they didn't do it?
President Granger who asked to recount of the vote.
And what happened after that?
The process. All right? But like I said before, they have to go through certain, they have to follow the law and follow the procedures. You just can't up and say you're going to recount votes like that. All right?
Malcolm, I'm really surprised.
Petition after results have been declared.
I'm really surprised an intelligent guy like you makes such statement. Albert, what do you want to say?
Yes, here's what I'm saying, and I respect Mr.
Because I don't allow racial emotions to take over me. All right? I don't emotions to guide me in what I say.
All right, let me come in now, Malcolm. I know you're a top marksman with the GDF. This, however, is about elections, and there are procedures here, and I have been in elections, so I know about elections. If there is a flaw or there is some discussion about an election,
that's Albert Baldeo
has a right to a recount, and therefore, as an old prosecutor, we sometimes prove our cases by circumstantial evidence. And the evidence here is very clear that APNU lost the elections. From the time Mingo is going to start acting like a lunatic, and you have another set of people hiding and Baldo Lawrence behaving with such criminal behavior, and you have all these things going on, Malcolm, it stands up to scrutiny, and it belies belief that they didn't lose the election. What they're trying to do now, instead of forming an effective opposition, which they can do, because the candidates who have won may not be impenetrable in the next election, is to reorganize and come back, include people from a diaspora, include the young people like the doctor here, include the younger blood, all the other people who are in Guyana. It is a shame and a disgrace to the people of Guyana that we say we're an independent country since '66. We say we are a Republican country since 1970, the greatest cooperative republic. That's a unique term in the world. But we are failing in our discharge of our public image, that we should show that Guyanese, especially with the blessing of oil, especially with the coronavirus, especially with Venezuela breathing down your neck, and use an old GDF officer would know this, what threat there is when it is so disheveled and Guyana is so disunited. What risk you're imposing on the poor people of Guyana. When people come here and take our money and then go back and do something else in Guyana, my brother, you've got to stand together. Forget these differences. Forget these walls you're erecting against each other, these narrow domestic walls, as Rabindranath Tagore warned his people of India before they became the greatest democracy in the world, that you've got to embrace each other. Look each other in the eye. The Guyanese people are suffering. Few, 1%, the Ocean View people and this kind of people are getting the sweet of the country. The majority, 99%, is getting couscous. They're getting nothing. And that is wrong. It's morally, legally, politically wrong. And you should change your stance, not only you, but all of you guys there who are causing this confusion and this shame on Guyanese. Now we, as probably the most progressive country on earth very soon, the Wall Street Journal rated us that we're going to have the largest increase in our economy But what are we getting now? We are getting zero, brothers and sisters. Guyana is going
All right, Albert, Malcolm, before you come on, Mingo made 2 declarations. 2. Both had different numbers. How can you now trust Mingo declaration as being an authentic one?
What you're saying is totally false and untruthful, all right? Totally false and untruthful, Mingo. You have fallen into the trap of the PVP demonizing people.
Malcolm. What was Mingo's first declaration? Malcolm, come on, this program, we need to get it through.
You have actual evidence that India has been fraudulent has been committed, all right? GCOM has not overturned the elections declared by the 10 return officers. They have not. So those results still stand. All right? So here's my response to Albert. I would have said to Albert that the PP that he knew before he left Guyana, the PP under Jagan, is totally different from the PP today. All right? The PP under Jagan, for all his faults, Jagan was a rabidly anti-communist, he was anti-American and so on, he was pro-Russia. Jagan was very concerned about the working people of Guyana. All right? When Jagan died, that PP went down the drain, and what we have now is a PP that represents the organized crime in Guyana. The PP today represents narco class in Guyana. These are the people who are in control of the PP. All right? Jagan is the face of organized crime. He's the face of drug trafficking in Guyana. And these are the people who want unbridled power so they can get their hands on the oil dollars. They could continue trafficking drugs. They could continue smuggling gold. They could continue money laundering and evading taxes.
Malcolm, you're speaking there like a sore loser. Malcolm, you're sounding like a sore loser. Why are you accusing the PPP of all? You're in government for the last 4 years. If the PPP have all these drug smugglers and drug dealers, why don't you prosecute them? So don't go that route. I'm saying to you, and you're telling me that you can't answer the question. Mingo made 2 declarations. Both had different numbers. If you're looking at the same statement of polls and you're making 2 declarations and both are different, what nonsense are you telling us, Malcolm?
Listen. Charles, you are very misinformed, my friend. The man made 1 declaration. All right?
2 declarations.
All right? And let me tell you something. At the end of the day, whenever the recount is done, it's the start after 1 elections. All right?
So why don't you go ahead and do the recount? Why is the roadblock, Asha? Why the roadblock?
So we're having a clear first-hand experience of what the government has been putting our people through. You throw out words without presenting evidence, which is what the speaker just did. You speak about past events, which you personally have done nothing about, even though it was a problem for you. And going forward, I think we just got a taste of what is happening. Your speaker seems unaware that the recount is already on the way. Preparations are being made for it. But you heard him talking about a petition. So we better look out now that when the recount is to start, they're going to use that as a side curve to say that we need that petition to do it, as another roadblock to put it off. Anybody who has won, even children playing, would know that if they won, they don't mind presenting their evidence, their facts. Let it be opened up. I admired the fact that the PPP came forward and said, listen, to know a winner, let us open the ballots and count it transparently. The leader of the opposition and David Granger came to an agreement that, yes, let us have this recount being done. The members of the APNU, including the person speaking just now, because he's fully behind them, says that, no, we know who won. Well, prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. That is the common say.
Wieland?
I personally believe the PNC is not interested in any recount. They want to hold on to power by any means necessary. And they want to use CARICOM to broker a deal between Mr. Granger and Mr. Ali to rotate some form of leadership, or to form some form of interim government, or to form a divided government, what is the so-called power sharing arrangement. That's why these votes are not going to be counted. And even if these votes are counted, in the counting process, there will be fumigation, there'll be bomb scared, there'll be COVID-19 scared, there'll be shutdown, there'll be roadblocks, there'll be blackouts, there will be no Wi-Fi signals in the building, because we depend on Wi-Fi signals to stream the actual live content onto the internet. The PNC will do anything to stay in power, like they did for 28 years. This is a different scenario. This is not rice and sugar we're talking about. This is oil. Oil is tremendously powerful weapon. It's a tremendously powerful weapon. The price is dropped.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are wrapping up now. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we will just wrap up. And Malcolm, sorry that you joined us so late, but we'll just talk after that when we come back.
January marks 1 year since Globespan 24/7 embarked on this initiative to offer a platform that brings in all sides, all points of view, and all concerns. Viewers in Guyana and across the world are participating in discussions that are bringing to light issues relating to social, economic, and political matters that have been plaguing our nation. Globespan's platform offers Guyanese to express their concerns and discuss solutions in the political realm, thereby addressing the polarized situation. Discussions also include social ills, such as alcoholism, domestic violence, and suicides that have been plaguing the people. The platform also mitigates the brain drain by having speakers that live in Guyana and across the world participate in these discussions. This concept will avail a broader view for the benefit of all Guyanese, so Globespan needs your support to offset the expenses. Kindly contribute by clicking the link in the description to help support these programs.
Okay, welcome back to our program. I know, ladies and gentlemen out there, I'm sorry we can't see Malcolm because there is connection problem, but we're hearing him, but we're seeing the rest of us on the screen. We're living in a very, an environment where we don't know what will happen tomorrow. The good news is at least the COVID pandemic is not as detrimental as it is here in New York. There's less people having it there, and there's a lot of natural cures. And Dr. Asher in the front line has said she's working on that. So we hope that does not really disrupt life as much as it is disrupting life in so many parts of the world. But having said that, this election, had GCOM done the right thing by March 4th, 5th, all this would have been avoided. And the new government would have been able to go really hands-on and deal with this COVID-19. Now, the IDB rejected Guyana's request for a loan to get product for the pandemic because they don't see the government as being a legitimate government. Other parts of the world, they receive millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to help their nation with this virus. So the political...
Also, Venezuela didn't get any money as well because of the illegitimate government.
Precisely. So the thing is, we are at a standstill and we don't know how long more this will go on. So in closing, Asha, tell us, what is your plan? What do you see going forward in the short term and maybe another month from now? And what do you see happening in Guyana?
Well, I can tell you from the new movement's point of view, we will continue to be here and have a voice. We stand 100% for transparency. We stand with all opposition parties petitioning for this recount to happen and playing our part. I will personally be there daily counting those ballots when the time comes. If a first-hand account is needed, I will be happy to provide that information. We stand for facts. There's no time I'm going to sit here and present anything to you without having the evidence to support that. Going forward, I will ask for people to remain calm. We are here for you. We are trying for you and fighting for you daily. And even though you're feeling like you've lost hope, I'd like you to know that we'll continue on this good fight to make sure that your democracy is preserved.
Excellent point. I got a question before you go off, Asha, is why is the government making preparation for budget and budget speeches. Are you getting the vibe in Guyana that they're preparing for the new budget?
A message was sent to me tonight that they're preparing to make a presentation tomorrow. I do not have evidence to support it, so right now it's a rumor. So yes, I have heard talks about that, but we will know when it comes up as solid facts.
Malcolm, I know you came on very late, so I want to give you some time now. Couple of things. One is, what do you see happening in the next month or so? And do you have information about the government preparing a budget for this year?
The government will have to prepare a budget because we were there. We won elections, and let me assure all Guyanese out there that the APNU plus AFC won the election, and Baldeo and its cartel-dominated PGs refused to accept the election result. And in fact, on the 5th of March, let me remind you that it was Baldeo and its cartel-dominated PVP that urged the supporters to loot and riot, which they did along the east coast and west coast of Barbados. They attacked school buses, they attacked school trains, they attacked nurses, they attacked people in minibuses, they robbed people. That is what Jagan the cartel urged some of the supporters to do, and they did it. All right, that's a fact.
Malcolm, I don't like to interrupt people in their
whenever the electoral process is completed, whenever it is completed, whenever that may be, I'm very confident that the APNU AFC will be declared the winner. We have already, according to the use of the regional returning officers, we won the elections, and we'll be declared winners for the third or fourth time again. Every time they come to balance, we will be declared the winner. Okay?
So
before the budget, of course, any responsible government will have to prepare a budget. All right? They will have to prepare a budget. So I don't know why they should not be preparing a budget. The budget should have been prepared already. Just waiting for the results to be declared and accepted, and the new government sworn in, and so a new parliament could be convened.
Malcolm, you're a very intelligent guy, but a caretaker government cannot prepare a budget. There is no government. There is only a president in charge for oversight authority, because a government, the people need something to govern, but there is really no government.
It is rumored that the cabinet meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Are you saying they have chaos and breakdown of law and order in Guyana?
No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. The president.
You have chaos. You have a breakdown of law and order, you have chaos. So I'm asking if that's the situation in Guyana today.
No, the president is still in charge, but there is no legitimate government.
So on March 5th, when the 18th, all the supporters to loot and riot in along the coast and West Bobby. That's the only time we had a little breakdown of law and order. All right? But let me assure you that there is a government in place. There is law and order. There is no chaos in Guyana. As regards the Wuhan virus, I should say for those who reside in the USA, I would publicly applaud President Trump for the leadership he has shown. And people ought to be thankful and grateful to him for having the virus in check, for the early action he took in shutting down travel from China so early and shutting down travel from Europe so early. All right? I think that has saved thousands and thousands of American lives. We now look forward to President Trump rebuilding the economy of Guyana. I think that will, the economy of USA, that will happen very, very rapidly. I'm saying this because of so many Guyanese who live in New York area, and so many Guyanese who have died there. The latest stuff you have is like maybe 70 Guyanese have died from the coronavirus around the Queens area alone. The Queens.
All right. Yeah. Okay, Malcolm. Two things. One is that I had Mr. Ramkaran last week on the program, and he said there is no official report of this minibus incident in Barbados, as you mentioned. We saw something on social media that school children apparently was disrupted, but there is no charges by the police, so that is propaganda by your government. Also, there was no, one nurse complained about being harassed, but I think that was dealt with, but there's no charges against it. The other thing is, is that you're if
Charles, people are along these coasts and engaged in violence as a mob. Who are you gonna charge, right? Who will identify who? All right. The minibus, they stole the minibus. They injured the school train in the minibus. All right. Do the school train know who stole the minibus? No, they don't, because they were pouring fear under the seats of the minibus. The school bus. It wasn't a minibus. It was a school bus. They were hiding under the seats. So they can't identify who was present in the minibus. They can't identify their attackers. Okay.
There's a lot of untruth in what's going on there, and you're not hearing the truth. The government is pushing propaganda, and of course the other side is also saying
it's not propaganda.
It is okay.
It's violence and everything. Oh, Charles, let me tell you that. With all
Violence.
You're this propaganda.
Okay. My question to you, Malcolm, is after the recount.
Among chapter 2 policemen, that's propaganda.
Okay.
Right.
My question to you after the recount is, if the APNU AFC lost in the recount, what will you do then?
What I will do?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking me as a person what I'm going to do?
Yeah, if APNU AFC lose the election after the recount is done.
Yeah, you're asking me what I will do? I am going to have my life as I usually do. All right?
Will APNU AFC accept that?
So you want to rephrase your question?
Will the government accept a recount if they lose the election?
Of course, what the President Granger has always said we're very big in it. He will abide with decisions of GCOM and decisions of the court.
Okay.
And he's not abiding by such decisions all the time. So there's no reason to think he will not abide by whatever decision GCOM makes and by whatever decision the court made. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
And he will do so. He will abide by whatever decisions GCOM makes and by whatever decisions the court makes. He has always abided by such decisions. Has he not?
We will let President Granger knows that Malcolm Harry Paul says that he will abide by the final recount by GCOM. Do you want to say anything else in closing?
No, I just want to urge Guyanese living in North America to urge their relatives in Guyana. So I'm telling that COVID-19, the Wuhan virus is a real thing. It is a killer. It takes down people with diabetes, heart problems, high blood pressure, lung respiratory problems, and so on. Takes them down very easily. I wanted to ask the farming guy to abide by whatever the Ministry of Health is advising them. I'm saying so because people are not social distancing in Guyana. I can tell you, I've seen people drinking alcohol in the rum shop. They're all shoulder to shoulder drinking alcohol. People are inviting friends and family at home, 20 persons at home drinking alcohol, and then when they're done, they have to overload in cars to go home. All right? So we haven't really been hit with the virus in Guyana yet, but I think it's going to come. It's not that you wish people bad, but it's time. All right? Once you have the virus here and it's here already, and so far with all the testing they've been doing, it's like 1 in every 5 person tested have tested positive, which is not good news at all. All right? Mm-hmm. So I urge you to urge your family in Guyana to let them know that the virus is real, it's a killer.
Thank you so much, Malcolm.
It goes very rapidly.
All right. Leland, you want to give your closing comments?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Well, thank you for all the participants on this program tonight. I would like to close by stating that this election impasse, this reluctance of the coalition government to have a full count and to get the results published is something that is well orchestrated. In this era of the COVID-19, we have to look at the era of the GCOM-19. Last year, when Mr. Patterson was injected after Mr. Granger repealed 18 names submitted by opposition leader Barry Jagdeo. It was a planning process, and Mr. Patterson has infected the entire GCOM staff. That is why GCOM can function the way it functions today. The GCOM chair is notably absent at crucial times in this whole fiasco. She is sick. She cannot make a decision. She has held one press conference. Well, that's not true because Mr. Granger has held 2 press conferences in his 5 years of office. Remember, the Constitution states you have 4 months from the date of the dissolving of Parliament to have a new legislature sworn in and take up their seats in Parliament. We have up to the 31st of April for this to happen, or we will have a serious constitutional crisis. And the only person who has authority in this situation is the president. No minister should ever be entitled to a salary or can make any decisions or no budget passed because we have a serious constitutional crisis. I would say 2 things here. Mr. Granger wants to negotiate power with the PPP, and he's going to use GCOM and other international observers to bring them to the table to share this presidency in a so-called interim government, so-called shared governance. That's not going to work. Because if you win, you win. You don't find Usain Bolt, who wins the gold medal, stating, I'm going to share my gold medal with the worst person who gets the bronze medal. Finally, as Mr. Granger has repeatedly said ad nauseum, he will abide by GCOM. GCOM is an independent body. Whatever GCOM says will go. That's like if you have a cricket team and you send them into bat and say, don't worry, you go and bat, play all the strokes you want because you have paid the umpire. That's what's going to happen here. The umpire is well and truly in control of dark forces. Mrs. Claudette Singh is not the Honorable Claudette Singh, that title that she got when she was the Chief Justice. She is just, in colloquial lingo, Fraudette Singh. Look out. There is a serious power struggle within the government itself. And the law of Guyana states very simply, whoever GCOM declares to be the winner will take up the reins of the president, regardless of counting any votes.
Just thank you. But before Albert comes on, just 2 things. One is that April has started today, it's not 31. I know that's an error. But also the court ruled, according to the Attorney General, is that the direction of 4 months is not directory. And I guess Albert can comment on that. So the 4 months coming up is expected for Parliament to sit, but then the court ruled prior to this that that's not directory. Albert, you want to say something in closing statement?
Well, to answer your question first, Charles, it is conceivable that they could bring another frivolous lawsuit claiming, just like by way of election petition, to stymie and to prolong the process, to say that this whole thing is unconstitutional, it's past the time frame. And lawyers, especially, I see a lot of frivolous lawsuits being filed in Guyana solely to deprive and to buy time. And I know a lot of these lawyers have went to school with me and so on. But I'm not indicting them. I'm just saying that they ought to have some kind of responsibility of law in society when Guyana is involved, where to draw the line between pushing this country forward or pushing this country backward. And the lawyers have got to come together and do what is right for the country. And forget the massive retainers they're getting. It is wrong. Also, the lawyers here, they should stop shelling out money to them and give it to the poor people of Guyana. Now, I want to speak on behalf of the founder leader of our nation, Dr. Cherry Jagan. And he was a founder leader, and he was out of office for 28 years, as we talked about. So what is 4 years out of office? What if you have lost an election, Malcolm, and all the others? I don't want to make an open call to these people. Granger, Nagamutu, Williams, Harmon, Lawrence, Amna Ali, Kermaj Ramjatan, Moses Nagamutu, Brian Tiwari, Keith Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers, Clement Mingo, and Claudette Singh. All of you have got to put Guyana interests first. Right now, you're not doing that. And also the members of the PPP or the coalition must also come together for the betterment of Guyana. I speak as a Guyanese who was born in Better Hope, who had to really, like all other Guyanese, elevate and make it in life. And when we see this happen in Guyana, our heart bleeds. We are very sad over what is going on. Because when we came to America, and all of us, we had to really work hard. And to see now that we've given God's grace with oil and the way we're fighting over crumbs and we're ceding our territory now to other countries, that is a shame and it must stop. Because we are now, you have a government which is a squatting government. In international law, such a government is not recognized. It is not recognized by the United Nations, by Commonwealth, by CARICOM, or any other official body. So what you have, Granger, is that you're not worse than a colonial country. You're not even a colonial country like British Guyana. You are a squatter in office. So what I'm saying is make sure these elections can come to an end. I will give you until the end of next week to do that. If not, we already have a petition out of 30,000 signatures to call the Department of State. And the Department of State number is 202-647-4000. Look it up, 202-647-4000. They don't play. They threaten serious sanctions. Mike Pompeo has already told the ambassador of Guyana that he may have to pack his bags and leave. And I know him well. He went to school at Queen's College in Cincinnati. They may recall all these ambassadors because all the countries are against this shenanigan going on in Guyana. This is theft of a fundamental right of 1 million people roughly and the people in the diaspora. And we want to see Guyana progress. If you have to leave, you've lost the election, so what? You move out of office, you form an opposition, you come back. But for you to hold on to power in such an idiotic and clownish way belies imagination. You're an embarrassment to Guyanese. You're an embarrassment to Cherry Jagan. That man was out of office for 28 years, Charles. Can they take an example for what Cherry stood for, where he took us, and now we're taking us backwards by squatting in government, and squatting over the people, and you can't get money for coronavirus? The last Commonwealth meeting, President Trump, when he invited the CARICOM leaders, he did not invite the Guyana president or the de facto president or caretaker, we're going to call him, because he doesn't have standing. And that is a risk you're playing. And now you have the Department of Justice can bring criminal charges and reach out and grab these players I just mentioned. Before it comes to that, gentlemen and ladies, make sure you put Guyana interest first. Do the right thing and let the poor people of Guyana, let the 850,000 people breathe and breathe the free air of democracy to a God-given country that has oil now. Look up. You're looking backwards and you're sucking each other's blood. You need to stop that and go hand in hand, whether you're black, blue, brown, or what. Land of 6 races, go forward together. This is very important. Take it from me and all of us who've lived in other countries. We are second-class citizens here. In Guyana, you are kings and queens. Cherish that.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Kisoon, it has been a pleasure. Leland, Mr. Baldeo, Malcolm, it has been a pleasure having you guys on the program tonight. And we look forward to next week as we continue discussion on an open forum on issues that affect our country. I hope that good sense prevail this week. Malcolm?
John, thank you very much for having me on the program. Let me congratulate Mr. Albert Baldeo for his authentic qualifications, which he earned from prestigious North American institutions. He did not go to the University of Iceland like the PPP presidential candidate did.
Well, Malcolm, thank you very much.
That is uncalled for. That is uncalled for. But
if he won, he won, even without the qualification.
No, Malcolm should know that the fact is that the presidential candidate got a PhD from the University of the West Indies. And that is a fact. So, Malcolm, don't go below the belt. That's not nice. Anyway, gentlemen and ladies,
That's a no ball, Charles. You have to call that a no ball.
I want to thank you guys for being on the program, and we look forward, hopefully by next week, things in Guyana will change and the recount should start. Again, from New York, I want to thank all our viewers, thank Nohar Singh and Devin for the great job they're doing to put us on this platform to share our knowledge, our information with the viewing public. To our public out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, God bless you all.
Thank you.